So I recently watched and enjoyed very much the reading of a poem in which the speaker of the poem asks her father what the Yoruba word for thief is. And her father tells her what this word is, and as I recall the reading, I may be misremembering it, but he suggests that the word is synonymous with lazy. And so I looked up the word, and this is what I found. I'm not exactly sure how it's pronounced, but if you look at the way that it's spelled, it contains all of the letters that spell Leo, the word for lion, or my res dog's name is Leo. It's actually an acronymic abbreviation for little early one. But that further appealed to me. And my reason for looking it up was that I wanted to do an improvisational reading of the Lazy Lion. And trace, some examples of such laziness. Prometheus played the part of the lazy lion when he stole fire from the Olympians, his goal being a desire to share the secrets and comforts of the gods with human beings. Robin Hood played the part of the lazy lion when he stole the king's deer in Sherwood Forest, hunting, trespassing in a place that wasn't his, for a meal that didn't belong to him. Edmond Dantes played the part of the lazy lion when he stole a crust of bread from a street vendor in order to survive. For this, he was sentenced to years imprisonment in a dungeon in which he nearly lost both his mind and his life. The character described as the gamin in Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times played the part of the lazy lion when she too stole a crust of bread in order to survive. Did Chaplin's character, described as merely the tramp, also play the part of the lazy lion, or was his role some other mythic figure, perhaps Manticore or Tiger Man, when he gallantly and heroically lied in defense of the gamin, taking her place in the custody of the policeman and serving her time in prison? Oh, lazy lions. To what hells have you been vanquished? Oh, lazy Leo lions. Oh, thieves. So this will be the third and final poem for the Lazy Lions. And I've talked about this story before, but I'll go ahead and repeat it in case any of my readers don't know this story. So when I was living in Julian, California, I used to walk my dog Leo on this little tract of road. And so one day on this tract of road, I encounter swastikas. And, they're not, these swastikas weren't, religious symbols from some ancient culture or anything like that. They were clearly Nazi swastikas. They weren't, twirling logs. Didn't belong to the Jain tradition. They were Nazi racist swastikas, okay? And then there were other like symbols that belonged to that whole semantic domain, right? So I removed them, and then later on, I called the police and I said, there's this stuff, and then the perpetrator of these signs had also then, after my removal, inscribed the road with my name and threats, and so I had informed the police of this, and they insisted that there was nothing that they could do, and in spite of the fact that I argued with them that this was an example of hate speech, they insisted that this person could do whatever he wanted, and anyway, so I removed the markings on the road myself, and I didn't, bother with the police too much after that. But shortly after that, the corpse of a female mountain lion was left on my doorstep, and I always, just assumed that it was part of the response to my removal of these signs. So I want to invoke the lazy lions again, here, and do a reading of this one. Suppose the markings in the road that spoke of hatred and death were property. Suppose the markings in the road, the signs, belonged to someone. Suppose the markings expressed ownership. Suppose the removal of the markings was considered an act of the destruction of property or of theft. Suppose the removal of the image was considered an act of theft. Would the remover of the image, the stolen image, would the remover of such an image be considered a lazy lion? I suppose it's possible to imagine that the remover of such an image was a lazy lion, though in what sense lazy, I'm not exactly certain. Lazy would have been, in my mind, leaving the image behind. Lazy would have been, in my mind, failing to confront the owner of the propertied image. Lazy, in my mind, would have been a failure to inform those who are supposedly responsible for upholding law and freedom. Lazy, in my mind, would have been not taking Leo for a walk in the first place. Lazy, in my mind, would have been a different kind of lion. But I suppose it's possible to imagine that the act belonged to such a lazy lion. And the corpse of the lioness left on my door, I wonder if my interpretation of the act of leaving such an object, such a sign, such a life as sign, I wonder if my reading was simply lazy, a lazy lion reading, for which, had I waited, I might have discovered a better explanation. Some of the neighbors suggested, perhaps, that my dogs were the lazy lions who stole the life of the lioness. But to have done so, my lazy lions would have had to have jumped a 5-foot fence, killed the lioness, jumped back over the fence, waited 3 weeks for the body of the lioness to rot, and then jumped the fence again, recovered her corpse, and dragged it to the front porch. Finally, they would have had to have jumped the fence again, these lazy lions, and hidden from me their role and responsibility in the event. My dogs could have been, I suppose, such lazy lions. And I wondered also, perhaps, the gesture of leaving the lioness on my front porch certainly had a different meaning. If she wasn't killed because she too was a lazy lioness, perhaps having stolen from someone's property, someone's front porch, something left in the garbage, or something like an animal resembling her prey, which belonging to the property possessor was clearly a violation of the law, thou shalt not steal. Never mind, the female lioness had cubs to feed, had probably existed generationally thousands and thousands of years in this space. My neighbors used to like to brag about how long they'd lived in Julian. When I first moved there, I was always received with the question, how long have you been here? After my response, they would say, I've lived here for 10 years. Sometimes it was as much as 20 or more, or their family had lived here before them, marking their claim on the land as far back as 50 years. And I wondered how many generations of lazy lions just moved in on their property and stole something that didn't belong to them. Those lazy lions.